Rivalries. You never really know what you're going to get. The Michigan Wolverines are 7-0, coming off a huge win over, at the time, number 10 Penn State. Michigan State, on the other hand, is 3-4 and just got their first Power 5 win of the season over Wisconsin. At the time of this recording, Michigan is a 21.5-point favorite over Michigan State. But what does any of that matter? What does it matter that Michigan is 7-0? What does it matter that Michigan State is 3-4? What does it matter that Michigan is favored by 21.5 points? The answer? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
Michigan is 71, 38, and 5 all time against the Spartans, but only 4-10 in the last 14 games against Michigan State. That hurts. Jim Harbaugh is 3-4 against Michigan State and 0-2 against Mel Tucker. That hurts. Michigan State has nothing to lose, and they've come into the last 2 games in this series as underdogs, and they won them both. Michigan State opened with 2 solid wins over Western Michigan and Akron, and then things went downhill. Losses at Washington, at home against Minnesota, at Maryland, and then they got blown out by Ohio State. But finally, they got that first Power 5 win over Wisconsin in a double overtime game. Let's take a quick look at how Michigan and Michigan State stack up statistically. On the offensive side of the ball, Michigan is getting 473 yards per game, which is 19th in the country, to Michigan State's 349, which is 104th in the country. On the ground, Michigan averages 241.7 rushing yards per game, which is 8th in the country. Michigan State gets 106 yards per game, which is 116th in the country. Passing the ball, the teams are pretty similar. Michigan 231.9 yards per game, 74th in the country. Michigan State is 242.9 yards per game, 65th in the country. Scoring offense, Michigan is 6th at 42.7 points per game. Michigan State is 78th with 27 points per game. On the defensive side of the ball, Michigan only gives up 250 yards per game, which is 5th in the country, whereas Michigan State gives up 422.3, which is 104th in the country. On the ground, Michigan only gives up 85.9 yards per game, 5th in the country again. Michigan State 153.3, which is 78th. And passing yards allowed, Michigan is 6th at 164.1. Michigan State 111th at 269 yards per game allowed through the air. Points per game allowed, Michigan 3rd in the country, 12.14. Michigan State 73rd in the country, 27.14. So Michigan State is 104th in total offense and 104th in total defense. A few quick notes from mgoblue.com. Blake Corum is 6th nationally in rushing, leads the NCAA in rushing touchdowns, and is 2nd in total touchdowns. J.J. McCarthy leads the NCAA in completion percentage and is 11th in pass efficiency. Michigan's defense lists in the top 10 in 8 categories. The glaring difference for MSU this year is that they don't have Kenneth Walker. He's too busy tearing up the NFL right now. Walker put this offense on his back last season, and he carried the Spartans in most of their wins. Peyton Thorne is back at quarterback for Michigan State. He was their quarterback last season. So far this season, he's thrown for 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. From the Michigan Insider, Peyton Thorne throws the ball 30 times per game, and he's completing 65.4% of his passes for 7.2 yards per attempt. While the junior isn't a true dual threat, he can extend plays and pick up yards on the ground. Thorne hasn't been outstanding this season, but he can throw a quality deep ball, read a defense, and is generally a competent quarterback. Michigan State has a pair of good receivers in Jaden Reed and Keon Coleman, and they're going to rely on the passing game to try to take down Michigan. Listen to what Power 5 quarterbacks have done against Michigan State so far this season. Michael Penix, 397 yards. CJ Stroud, 361 yards. Talia Tagovailoa, 314 yards. Tanner Morgan, 268 yards and 3 touchdowns. Here's what Donovan Edwards had to say about the game. This year we have an edge on those guys. Coach Harbaugh is 0-2 against Mel Tucker. We want to bring Paul back to Michigan. We're going to do whatever it takes. We're going to win. We're going to win, and we're going to leave them no mercy kind of deal. That's what we want to do. We want to bring Paul back. Jamon Green also had some comments. He said, I remember that we weren't as good in run defense as we are this year. Number 9 for Michigan State. Last year, he was a very good back. I don't think they have that this year. I feel that we're going to do a lot better this year than in previous years stopping the run. And what did Coach Harbaugh say? Our guys really want to win this. I'm not going to lie to you. I really want to win it. You just get the feeling that MSU is going to try to sell out to stop the run after seeing what Michigan did to a pretty good run defense against Penn State. And by looking at what some other Power 5 quarterbacks have done against Michigan State's defense, J.J. McCarthy should have plenty of opportunities to sling it around. On paper, Michigan should be able to move the ball at will shut down Michigan State's run game, forcing Thorne to throw the ball a lot. But as we've seen in this crazy rivalry, on paper means nothing. Having said that, I like the confidence of this team. I like the confidence of Donovan Edwards. I also have that confidence. I think Michigan is just on a different level than Michigan State. So for my prediction, I got Michigan 38, Michigan State 14. Leave your predictions down in the comments of what you think the score is going to be. If you're going to the game, wear blue. And as always, go blue.